So I finally have a new setup that I'm going to be experimenting with. I'm actually filming in a different room. This is actually my bedroom now. I put up the blinds a little bit easy, or the black background a little bit spread out and a little bit cleaner, so I think it's a better look now. I have also, I'm trying to optimize my camera settings a little bit to make sure that the video quality is good. I did a little bit of research on that, on the shutter and frame rate, and like what the best settings are for like an optimized video quality. So yeah, hopefully this will be a little bit better result. So I wanted to talk about my 4 ACO DMT trip that I had recently, and this was about 2 days ago. So as you guys know, my last 4 ACO DMT trip was a pretty big disaster. I was pretty much asking my mom to like call an ambulance or get like someone to restrain me or something, because I thought like I just didn't have any more control of my actions, or you know, what I was going to do. I didn't really have confidence in my ability to just stick with the trip and just lie down and wait for it to be over. I was definitely overwhelmed and very panicked. It felt very apocalyptic, and I just that wasn't something that I was ready to face and go on with, and I didn't know if I was going to be like the same person afterwards. It was going on for an eternity. It lasted 6 hours, but it felt way longer than that, obviously, because of time dilation, you guys know. And that was around 80 to 100 milligrams. This time I did lines of 4-ACO DMT and MDMA. I was dosing periodically in about 20-minute time period. I think I took around 3 or 4 lines, and they were relatively small lines. I think that the 4-ACO DMT, the dose was no more than maybe 50 or 60 milligrams in total, and the MDMA dose was probably around 100 to 150, probably more closer to 100. And this time I went straight to my bed. I was watching Star Trek Discovery, but then it was kind of getting a little bit too intense, so I was like, okay, it's time to go to bed. Originally, I was just kind of trying to get my feet wet in it and not necessarily go into the intergalactic space of the 4-ACO DMT experience like I did last time, but quickly, or not really quickly, for like the first hour or so, it was very manageable and very actually pleasant. I was having pretty vivid hallucinations and visions in my closed eyes. A lot of it was very complex geometric patterns that kind of looked like a 4th dimensional plane of existence. It was really beautiful. I wish I could have brought my camera with me, but as you guys know, that doesn't really work out. So after around the hour and a half mark, then I started to feel the same type of panic that I felt in my last trip started to come on, and I was like, oh god, did I overshoot again? And you know, is this gonna happen all over again? And it turns out that yeah, I kind of did overshoot it. I wanted to kind of stay in the solar system of the psychedelic experience, but I kind of got shot into like more interstellar space, so it was definitely further than I was planning to take it. And you guys can kind of imagine the mind state I was in about that. I was like, oh crap, here it comes, here it goes. And I remember I was kind of like praying to whatever higher power that I think is out there to you know, be gentle on me and not completely just mangle me like last time. And I could feel the same kind of thought patterns that were emerging that caused the last one, and I was but this time I was more prepared, because the last time I kind of just jumped into it without being prepared, but this time I knew that this is something that I could possibly face again, and that I need to be more prepared, and I needed to really reflect on why that other experience happened and what kind of got me into that mental just very fearful state. And I think in this one I had a bit more control over my thoughts. I was practicing more no mind when I thought that I was losing control of my thoughts and where they were going, and they were causing me they were starting to cause me anxiety and panic. I was practicing no mind, and I was remembering all the things that kind of really kind of messed with my head the last time, and I was able to tell myself, like, that's you can recognize that as something that's not part of you, and it's the trip, and once the trip wears off, then that will be over, and it'll be just like how it normally is when I'm sober. And because I knew that when I went through that last one that was extremely challenging, and I thought I was never going to get out of it, and I was never going to be straight again, or sane again, or have my mind back. Lo and behold, my mind came back, and it was business as usual in my life. Nothing happened to me. I didn't have any post-traumatic stress disorder, so that was the reassurance that I knew that everything was going to be okay. But I've had 4-ACO DMT experiences a lot in the past, and pretty high doses too, even mixed with MAOIs, and I've felt the intensity of these kinds of experiences, but I've never felt the same type of panic and fear that I do with the batch that I've been using. There's just something ungodly potent about the batch that I have now. I can't explain it. And there was the first few trips that I had on it, it wasn't insanely potent, but I don't know what happened. It just got super strong. Now, that might be because my brain chemistry or where I am in my life has changed, so I'm having more of an effect from it, but it's just ridiculously powerful. I don't know I don't know what's going on here, but it's really kind of making me scratch my head. But yeah, after that, once I started to get kind of more accustomed to what was going on, I remember I was lying in my bed, and I felt that as long as I kind of stayed still and tried to practice no mind, then I should kind of keep the panic in check. And while this was going on, I was having really vivid closed-eye visuals of geometric planes. There was no entity contact, oddly enough, for whatever reason, even though the visions were very powerful. When I opened my eyes, everything in my room looked very liquid. I remember I was looking at the lights on the ceiling, and how the lights from outside, they were kind of casting like a striped pattern, and the whole thing just looked like it was breathing and completely liquid. And something about moving and getting up, it kind of frightened me. Anytime I would sit up, I would get everything would feel like it's happening really quickly in terms of what I'm looking at, and it just something was very unsettling about that. So I tried to lay down and kind of stay still. I remember when I would try to get up, I would feel as if my limbs and my muscles were about to spasm, and that's a reoccurring thing. I seem to, on high doses of 4-ACO DMT or other psychedelics, I seem to experience muscle spasms in really weird places. It didn't really happen this time, but I could feel it as a possibility, and there was this kind of I wasn't in pain in terms of my limbs and everything, but it felt very vulnerable. I felt my limbs felt very vulnerable, and at any moment it can start to hurt a lot, and that kind of made me a little uneasy. So I would go to my bed and kind of just lie down and kind of just wait off those physical anomalies that I was kind of sensing. As long as I stayed in my bed, I was perfectly fine. And this time it probably only lasted 4 hours, maybe 5, I'm not really sure. It probably, I could see the experience being just as intense in terms of panic as the last one, but I just didn't allow my head to go into that state, so I wasn't held, it didn't hold on to me as hard as the last time, just because I was able to conquer the fear better. I think that once that fear happens in a really intense way, then that kind of just prolongs the trip no matter what dose you take. I really don't think that dose in these levels really make that much of a difference. And I was also on MDMA, so that also kind of increased the power of the trip. But yeah, I was able to successfully have this experience without going into a full-blown panic attack. It was funny because the last time was the first time that I kind of farmed it out to my mom that like, yeah, I took whatever and you know, I can't handle it and whatever. And it's kind of like a defeating moment. And I knew that, that this time I remembered all of that stuff, and I knew that if I were to do that again, that everything would be fine, and it would just, the same thing would happen all over again, and then I would come out of it and I would be okay. So I was like, you know what? There's no even point really, you know, waking up my mom and bothering her with me doing this thing that, you know, was annoying to her for the first time, because it basically, you know, I kind of kept her up because like I was having a really difficult experience. So I didn't want to bother anyone with that. I knew that you know, this was my choice, and I wanted to ride it out on my own. So I'm glad that I did that. I didn't bother anyone, and once the trip kind of wore down, I felt really empowered that I kind of went through it and wasn't super afraid and basically become defeated by it. And yeah, I got to travel to really insane, beautiful places that you know, I really was disappointed that I was starting to have a lot of bad experiences with these psychedelics, obviously, because as an artist, I want to depict the visions that I have. So if I can't get into there because of fear, then that kind of creates a problem, because now I you know, I can't see it and I can't really remember it to recreate it the way that I want to, in a way that is like, I guess, accurate enough for people to really recognize. But yeah, I think there's a lot of promise now that I'll be able to experience the deep ends of the psychedelic sea without experiencing insane amounts of fear. So I hope you guys thought that was a decent update on what's going on. There's a lot of stuff that I'm still working on with my channel, trying to learn more about editing and stuff like that, so that's why I've been kind of AWOL for a bit. I've just been really doing a lot of research on how to, you know, improve all of the aspects of my videos and stuff like that. So I hope you guys would stick around for the next ones, and I guarantee it'll be even better as time progresses, so peace out.